What's up, Golf Sickos? Huge show. I feel like I say that every week. Sometimes I mean it more than other weeks. I mean it a lot today. It is the United States Open recap show. We are Dan on Golf, presented by Knockaround. Still feels awesome to say that. That week felt long, didn't it? Felt long. That's what the U.S. Open is about, right? It's supposed to be a war of attrition. I saw a couple of people talking about, oh, it's a little boring watching these guys hit. This is the United States Open. This is what it's all about. It had everything an Open should have. A dramatic ending with J.J. Spaun making the longest putt of the week, which I don't know if that's fake news, because I feel like I saw longer putts go in. Maybe they were from just off the green, but the longest putt of the week to win the United States Open, kind of our first surprise winner. I think it's fair to say he's a surprise winner. He's 100 to 1 or 150 to 1 coming into the week. Since Brian Harman, really, at the 2023 Open Championship. So it's been a sustained run of the top guys. And we had something different this week. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host. Nope, he's not here. Guy likes Pittsburgh. He's a Pittsburgh guy. He wanted to stay in Pittsburgh. So it's just Dan in the studio today. We're gonna give you our 18 parting thoughts on everything that happened. So I want everyone to just sit down and relax, because we're gonna sit here and talk about golf. That is what we do on this show. The rough was brutal. We had so much rain. We're going to talk about all of this, but it just felt like everything a U.S. Open should be, as far as it threw everything at the players, including casual water at the end. And J.J. Spaun gave us one hell of a moment there on 18. He got fortunate that Viktor Hovland's shot. Viktor Hovland needed to make birdie. He pulls it way left, and he ends up with a 66-footer opposed to J.J. Spawn's 65-footer, and it was the same exact putt. Here I was on the watch along, just losing my mind. All right, JJ, this is what you've been practicing for your entire life. Can he two-putt from 60 feet to win the U.S. Open? It goes down one ridge. It goes over the other. This looks like perfect speed. He's made it, JJ Spaun. What a way to finish. The U.S. Open champion is under par. Oh, my gosh. 60 feet on the last. That's an all-timer. That is an all-timer. Only one man finishes under par. It's J.J. Spaun. He was 150 to 1 to win this week, and there's your champion, J.J. Spaun. He's the U.S. Open winner. He's on the Ryder Cup. He's going to be a top 10, top 15 player in the world, whatever he moves up to. Oh, my goodness. What a round of golf from J.J. Spaun. This guy was 5 over par through his first 6 holes today. If that doesn't fill your heart, I got a different sport that you need to watch, because that is the United States Open right there. Oh my goodness, you guys. This is a different type of major championship win. This is a dream come true. My first time watching that clip since. I touch my face a lot, and I have a very high voice when I get excited. I also noticed the watch-along makes people mad. People get mad about the watch-along. Saw a couple accusations out there. My friends always send me the comments when I try my best not to read them, and my friends are like, hey, you see this guy who fucking hates you? It's like, okay, thanks, buddy. Happens all the time. But I saw a lot of comments being like, oh, he's acting. That's after the fact. If you think I would talk like this, acting as like on purpose, I got news for you. All right, we're going to hop into a little segment right before we get into everything, and I promise, we're going to talk about Rory, we're going to talk about J.J. Spaun, we're going to talk about Wyndham Clark, we're going to talk about Bob McIntyre, we're going to talk about trees. I've been talking a lot about trees this week. We're going to talk more about them. But first, we're going to hop into a segment that everyone calls it, the Knockaround, presented by Knockaround. These are the Brooklines. We're going to talk about everything that's happening kind of outside the U.S. Open, but sort of inside the U.S. Open also. These are the Knockarounds. These are the Brooklines. I had dinner with the Knockaround team this week at Altius restaurant in Pittsburgh. What a view. Pittsburgh, man. Pittsburgh, people sleep on Pittsburgh. We had a fantastic time. We got a discount code. If you go to knockaround.com and use the promo code DanOnGolf20, you're going to get 20% off your first order. I've been telling you guys all year, I mean it. They're the presenting sponsor on the show, but even before they were. These are a fantastic product for the right price. $30 sunglasses. Stop spending ridiculous money on sunglasses. It's just very, very silly. Okay. A little bit of PGA Tour news that sort of crept into U.S. Open week. Brian Rolap, Adam Schefter tweeted this in the middle of the U.S. Open, that Brian Rolap, a highly respected longtime NFL executive who some consider as the potential successor to NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, is leaving his post as the league's executive vice president to become PGA Tour CEO. Sources tell Seth Wickersham and me, so it's true. Those are 2 huge names. Rolap spent 22 years with the NFL, and Goodell sent a memo today to all team executives and presidents to notify them of Rolap's departure. The question here now is, What, if any, overlap is he going to have with Jay Monahan? Is this the beginning of the end of Jay Monahan's tenure on the PGA Tour? It sort of seems that way. Why would a guy who's number 2 at the NFL leave to become number 2 at the PGA Tour? That just doesn't pass the smell test. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, the NFL is maybe the best run league in the world as far as drawing fan interest, as far as serving fans. So, there's new blood in the PGA Tour. It's already there with the Strategic Sports Group. Those guys absolutely have a loud say in the room. Theo Epstein's been helping them out a lot. And now with a new CEO, looks like there's going to be a new regime running the PGA Tour. We're going to do a little leaderboard drive-by. Some of the guys that we didn't talk about in the 18 parting thoughts, just a couple guys I wanted to highlight beyond J.J. Spaun and Bob McIntyre and all those guys that we're going to talk about. Cameron Young finished tied for 4th. That's his 6th top 10 finish in a major championship. This is why people can't quit Cameron Young, because he's so damn good, and on really hard golf courses, his game shines. Carlos Ortiz, huge week for him, +3. Had to qualify to get in. He was 6 over through 27 holes, played his next 45, I believe, in 3 under par. Jon Rahm got his 3rd top 10 finish out of his last 4 in majors. So there's all this narrative about Jon Rahm. He's actually finished in the top 10 in 3 of the last 4 majors, which is pretty damn good. Brooks Koepka finished tied for 12th. I think we all thought he was going to maybe hang around for longer with that opening around 68, but he backed up with 74, 73, 71. A quick shout out to Justin Hastings, the low amateur, finished at 15 over, but he was the only amateur. I think there was 14 in the cut, 14 in the field, and he was the only one who made the cut. And then Keegan Bradley, we were going to talk about Keegan and sort of the Ryder Cup stuff, but we're going to get to that mostly next week. There's another signature event this week. I'm headed to it right after this, which is crazy, but it's true. And Keegan finished tied for 33rd, so not like a top 5 that would put him seriously into the Ryder Cup conversation, but also not a miscut to kind of cool that talk. Speaking of Tyrrell Hatton, this was a big week for the live guys not named Bryson DeChambeau or Jon Rahm, who we knew would have been able to compete in majors. Carlos Ortiz is a guy who was a solid player on the PGA Tour, has gone over to live and clearly hasn't dropped a level. Same thing for Tyrrell Hatton. He finished tied for 4th. He was really this is kind of the first time he's been in proper contention late in a major championship. He got a bad break. He kind of foresaw it himself. Talking about on Saturday how he's had a couple balls that have stayed in the face of bunkers, and that's exactly what doomed him on 17. But he spoke to the media after, and I just thought this was a great clip. You can hear exactly what's happening. You can hear J.J. Spaun. Here's Tyrrell Hatton.
I sat in dining. Oh, he's holed it.
Oh, he's holed it.
Unbelievable.
See, everyone turns into an announcer.
What a putt to win. That's incredible.
My reaction to that, we can stop. My reaction to that is the guys who are conducting that interview, I salute you. You are dedicated to the job. Imagine being so committed to doing that interview with Tyrrell Hatton that you just missed the 60-footer to win the U.S. Open. It's wild. Rory McIlroy, we're going to talk about him with the media, some not so cool stuff. This was, if you're going to throw a club, at least make it look cool. Here's Rory McIlroy. He definitely wasn't on purpose, but look at this rebound. Ooh, and he switches hands too, catches it right there, holds it out there. Guys, the guy is coordinated. I don't think anyone had any questions about that. The Sunny-Hana Amateur, I wanted to bring this in, was won by 17-year-old Tyler Watts, kind of the consensus number 2 junior behind Miles Russell. He was in the field of that tournament that Charlie Woods won. I think he won I think he shot a record score. I remember seeing something like that. So one of the first kind of big amateur event of the summer is won by 17-year-old Tyler Watts. The ages just keep getting lower and lower of guys that win these tournaments. We're seeing with Miles Russell, 16-year-olds make cuts on the PGA Tour, 17-year-olds win massive amateur events. They keep getting better and they keep getting younger. And then there was no Korn Ferry event this week. There was no PGA Tour Champions event this week. There was an LPGA event. Charlotta Siganda got the victory. I just wanted to bring that in. The Meyer LPGA Classic for Simply Give. All right, let's hop into parting thoughts. We're going to slow down here, and we're going to talk a lot about the golf tournament. So, look, no tournament feels as long as the U.S. Open, and I'm tired from just watching. But, so often is the case, the guy who leaves with the trophy is the one who closes the strongest. And J.J. Spaun overcame a nightmare start on Sunday to shoot a back nine 32, included birdies on the final 2 holes, 4 of his last 7. He got such a bad break on the second hole, hitting a perfect shot that hit the flag, rolled all the way down the slope. And you could tell he got punched in the mouth. And that was kind of a theme this week because Oakmont, the front 9 was playing tougher than the back 9 all week. So you saw a lot of guys who came out there and made a bunch of bogeys early. But if you were able to just keep yourself in it, you were able to there were birdies out there on the back 9, and J.J. Spaun showed that. And this was a different type of major winner. The last 6 majors prior to this one were won by Scotty Scheffler, Xander Schauffele, Bryson DeChambeau, and Rory McIlroy. And those are legacy guys. And when those guys win a major, all of them are multiple major winners. When those guys win a major, we talk a lot about where do they rank all time? Are they going to win over or under 4.5 majors for their career? You're kind of trying to contextualize it. This is not a contextualized major championship. This is a dream come true. This is a journeyman tour pro who found something in the fat part of his 30s. He's turning 35 very, very soon, elevating his game to an entirely new level and completing a dream that seemed so impossible just a few years ago. This was only the second U.S. Open that J.J. Spaun even got into. He played his first 2021 Torrey Pines and missed the cut. He said on Saturday, it's fun. I mean, this is the first time for me to be in contention in a major. The Players is an unofficial major, I guess, but yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's kind of everything that you prepare for and hope to have the opportunity for at these big events, let alone just getting into them are so hard. It was fun until it wasn't fun for him in the beginning on Sunday, but he dug deep, he punched back, and he finished like an absolute champion. A perfect drive into the drivable par 4 17th. Gave me a little bit of Colin Morikawa vibes, where so you're waiting for that. So the Colin Morikawa, obviously, at the 2020 PGA Championship at TPC Harding Park, where there's a bunch of guys in contention, and you're sort of waiting for somebody to hit the shot, and J.J. Spaun hit the shot on 17, drivable par 4s on the back 9. Absolutely love them. We had it at PGA Championship, too, 15th, which was fantastic. And the golf gods threw him a bone with Victor Hovland's second shot on the 18th, finishing right outside his. I mean, getting a read there was so important. And Victor hit a pretty solid putt. He missed it on the low side, but JJ saw the entire thing. He etches his name into history. He locks up a Ryder Cup spot. I think it's a done deal now. You win the second to last major, the last major on U.S. soil before Bethpage Black. You were on the team, especially with that second place finish at the Players. So, if we count the 3 majors plus the Players as the 4 biggest tournaments that have been contended this year, J.J. Spaun's had a series. He's shot the lowest score for 72 holes, 2 of them. He tied Rory at the Players. Yeah, he lost the playoff, but they shot the same score. So this guy's going to be on the Ryder Cup spot. I think we have a clip. Don't we have a clip, Andy, of JJ talking? Let's hear from JJ Spaun.
No, it's fun. I mean, this is the first time for me to be in contention in a major, I think, yeah. I mean, the Players is an unofficial major, I guess, but yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's kind of everything that you prepare and
let's
hope to have the opportunity to have at these big events, let alone just getting into them are so hard. That was me a year ago a year and prior, I couldn't even get into these tournaments. So to see myself here qualifying off world ranking just based off how I've been playing all year was a nice treat, but then to, kind of back up how I've been doing all year and be in contention is fun.
I think we have another one, Andy, or is that it? Okay, that's what we got. Yeah, so, I mean, he was emotional afterwards, as you expect. Just an all-time moment there on the 18th, throwing that putter, 60-footer to win the U.S. Open. It would have been so anticlimactic if he just rolled it close and tapped in, but he gave us one of the all-time U.S. Open finishes yesterday. Really, really closed it with a bang. And, you have to feel for Adam Scott. That's our next one. You got to feel for Adam Scott. I think when you're in contention in a major in your 40s, Adam Scott's 44. We saw this with Justin Rose at the Masters. I think there's an extra heaviness because you just, no matter what you say and no matter how good you feel, and Adam Scott does seem to be adding speed and almost getting younger, but there has to be a lagging thought in your head of, is this the last time I'm going to get an opportunity like this? And there wouldn't have been a more popular winner than him. He's a legend of the game, not just with all the tournaments that he's won, and I do believe he got to number 1 in the world. He won the Masters, he's won a bunch of tournaments, but just his stature, his comportment, his swing, his overall style. And if anyone deserves a second major, it's Adam Scott, but that word deserves means nothing. It means nothing in our game. And for every cosmic victory like Rory's at Augusta, there's a heartbreak like Scott at Oakmont. I mean, this might have been Phil Mickelson's last U.S. Open. He never got it done. That was the only one that evaded him, and he finished second 5 or 6 times. So, for every Rory, we get a punch in the stomach like this. And Adam Scott shot 79 on Sunday. He never had it. It wasn't his day. A couple early putts that he needed to fall, didn't fall. Actually ended up finishing tied for 12th. So if you had an Adam Scott top 10 bet, I feel very bad for you. But let's hope there's another run in there for Scotty. Let's hope there's another run in there. He's definitely hitting it far enough. He was like mid 180s ball speed, which was crazy. He was out driving Sam Burns all day, but hitting it far is not all that is necessary to win a major championship. And for now, Adam Scott stays on one, like Justin Rose, like Sergio Garcia. I always think of those three guys. They're all kind of around the same age range. They've got very similar resumes in the game and are all desperate, I think, for a second major to really burnish their legacy. I mean, Sergio, but Sergio has the Ryder Cup piece, the all-time leading points winner, one of the absolute legends of the Ryder Cup. So he's got that. And Justin Rose has been in contention a lot recently and also got to number one in the world, and he has that gold medal. It just felt like Adam Scott, it felt like everything was aligning for him. And it felt like the crowd was trying to will him to victory. But it didn't happen. Not this time. Yeah. Oh, I got to bring in Ben. Yeah, let's bring in Ben. Ben's a Pittsburgh guy. Ben Boscovich is joining us live. Ooh, where are you, bro? Were you renting like a mansion or something?
I'm in Philadelphia at my mother-in-law's apartment.
Okay, Mrs. Bosco. I mean, it's probably not Miss Boscovich, but I'm liking what I'm seeing behind you. That TV set into the stone. That is a nice piece of craftsmanship right there.
Thank you. I got to watch the end of the golf here yesterday. It was beautiful. Fantastic,
Ben. I got to be honest with you. I found myself missing trees this week. I don't know if I'm tree hugger Dan. It's a worldwide trend. Getting an old golf course gets restored or renovated or whatever fancy word they want to use, and the architect looks at original pictures of the course, sees that there were just less trees, and then the chainsaws come out. And we've seen this to varying degrees on Gil Hanse restored venues that have hosted U.S. Opens, the Country Club, Winged Foot, LACC, but none took it to the extreme that Oakmont did. Look at this thread from Jamie Kennedy of Golf Digest for some sort of jarring before and afters. He says, "You want to see how much Oakmont changed? Let's see the photos." I mean, there's still some trees, but there's the before and after. You can see how many trees there were on the interior of the golf course, and I agree that looks like too many trees, but you can still clear out a bunch of trees without just razing the entire place. You know, the backdrops were, and it's one thing if you're, a links course on the ocean and there's no trees around the property and you want the golf course to sort of mirror where it's at. That's why, a links course by the ocean or even a Shinnecock that's by the ocean, I feel like it feels a little more natural with no trees. And look, I get it again. This is what it looked like in the beginning, but things evolve and things change. And it doesn't have to be black and white. It doesn't have to be a forest on both sides or absolutely none. It feels like on the bottom there, that picture of Ludwig, if we had one tree, or this picture here with Phil, maybe one tree on the left, one tree on the right, you still get all the benefits of opening up. You still get the vistas. You still get the improved turf conditions. Ben, I just sort of feel like it's almost like becomes a thing. Like we're going to get rid of all of them. It's like almost like to prove a point.
I guess he was trying to follow a design to a T, right? But it is a little, I get mixed feelings over this because I grew up
we were there this week. Did it not feel just a little naked, like just a little bit like where are all the trees? Maybe it's because we've seen the images like this, but it was, he took out a bunch of trees at LACC. He took out a bunch of trees at Winged Foot. This was like a whole nother level.
Yeah, I guess the course was like this, but I mean, in Pittsburgh golf is really like tree-lined fairways, like getting lost in them, having to punch out.
Right?
Yeah.
Like look around the golf course. We're in the mountains. There's trees absolutely everywhere. And you see an overhead of that. You see the satellite image and it's jarring.
The thing I do like about it is that I think it did make it harder because you can't play off of the lines of the trees. Yeah, no, it definitely. The guys were talking about they felt like they were aiming at a piece of grass. So it gave you sort of a little bit more anxiety on the tee shots. I almost said on the tree shots. There are no tree shots. The trees all got shot. There were none.
The trees all got shot. They cut all of them down. But something tells me this place they could figure out a way to have a tree here or there, maybe like short left of that bunker on the hole we're seeing on the bottom of our screen here. I just miss the trees. On the flip side, and you sort of hinted at this. I'm going to hit the button, Andy, the new button. I harped in on the lead up to Oakmont about all the U.S. Opens and how all of them recently were
utter woke nonsense.
They were utter woke nonsense. That worked better. We have an utter woke nonsense button. The combined winning score of the 6 U.S. Opens before this one was 47 under par. And I was hopeful for our first over par winning score since the 2018 U.S. Open at Shinnecock. It didn't happen, but the reason I think is due to no fault of Oakmont's. It was the rain. Pittsburgh had a historically wet spring, and Oakmont was hit with rain on Sunday, Monday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Yeah, 2 Sundays in there. That's how much it rained. It rained 5 days in a sort of 7-8 day stretch. And Thursday was warm, minimal wind. Same on Friday until that weather came in. What I'm saying is it was about as benign as scoring conditions can be. And it's still, we saw this type of weather just absolutely killed the difficulty of Congressional in 2011. The winner that week was 16 under, and there were 20 players who finished the week under par. Same thing at Erin Hills. You get some rain early in the week, 16 under winning score, 31 players under par, which 31 players under par in the United States Open. Andy, you know what that is.
Utter woke nonsense.
Utter woke nonsense. At Oakmont, by the 60th hole on Sunday, there were only 2 players under par, and only one guy finished under par, and it's because he made a 65-footer on the last. The course got dealt about as bad a weather hand as possible and still provided the sternest U.S. Open test since 2018 at Shinnecock and further cemented itself as perhaps the ultimate U.S. Open. And still, I was rooting for over par. I was rooting for over par. The Mascus in me a little bit. That's 7 straight U.S. Opens with an under par winner, albeit only just. The good news is next year, the good news is that next year we return to Shinnecock, where it was over par in 2018. So can't wait for that. So with golf course setup, so I had Jeff Hall, who's the managing director of rules and open championships at the USGA, on Dan on Golf on Wednesday. And I asked him if the USGA staff has a winning score in mind when setting up the course. I knew what his answer was going to be because I did a little research, not to brag. I read a Reddit Ask Me Anything that he had recently done, but I wanted to hear him say it rather than type it. And he said they don't have a winning score in mind. They're about setting up what they think is the best championship test. And I loved that answer. Not because I don't want an above par winning score, because I did, but I've said it countless times up to this event. I love over par, but I love the answer because that sort of competitive integrity is the basis of professional golf. Like, fans are interested in this tournament because of what the U.S. Open is. The U.S. Open does not try to make itself interesting to fans. And that's a significant distinction. And I'm bringing this book up again because I just love this damn book. But Michael Bamberger in the playing lesson talks about, in professional golf, the competition comes first. Everything around it, the innovations, the fan experience, the marketing strategy, all those thoughts come after. They're secondary to the competition. They're not a part of the competition. The competition exists in and of itself in a certain purity, and then everything else is on the outside for idiots like me to talk about. We have a new king of amateur golf after Luke Clanton abdicated north of the border. He just turned professional and played in the Canadian Open. But his name is Jackson Koivun. He's a rising junior at Auburn University. Became the world's #1 amateur a few weeks ago, just after he locked up his PGA Tour card through the PGA Tour U Accelerator program with a top 10 at NCAA's individual. By the way, I have heard rumblings that getting your tour card through PGA Tour U Accelerated might be made a little bit more difficult in coming years after, they designed this program and they ran all these simulations about how many guys in the past would have gotten their card through PGA Tour U Accelerated, and it would have been like a couple over the last 30 years, and there's been 3 in the last 2 years, really, with Gordon Sargent, Luke Clanton, and Jackson Koivun. But yeah, Koivun had an amazing sophomore season at Auburn. Saw him become the first man since 1979 to win back-to-back SEC individual titles. He went straight from that tournament at Omni Acosta. Auburn lost in match play, right to Golf's Longest Day, where he shot 11 under to get through the Atlanta site. Then he goes straight to the Palmer Cup, which is a kind of Ryder Cup-like competition for the best college golfers. Co-ed, the men and women play together. Europeans actually won on American soil. It was at Congaree, which doesn't happen very often. And then from there, straight to Oakmont, where he opened with a really solid 72, but missed the cut by 1 after second round 76. And he's in a unique position. I mean, there's absolutely nothing left. There's only 2 events in the amateur world that I would guess are like really, really, it's the United States Amateur and NCAAs with Auburn. And everything up until then, he's already the #1 amateur. He's already got his PGA Tour card. So I asked him what was his schedule, because a lot of, these amateurs, these college players, they finish NCAAs, and they usually play a bunch of amateur events, like a bunch throughout the summer. It's almost like a little amateur tour, and it's almost like a dress rehearsal for being a professional in those summers, where you're traveling to different places. You're kind of on your own. You don't have your team to, do everything, including wipe your butt. They don't actually do that, but if you ask, they might. But he's not doing that. He's only playing 2 amateur events. He's playing the Western Am and the U.S. Amateur, and then he's got 2 PGA Tour events lined up for this summer, the John Deere Classic and the ISCO Championship. Again, missed the cut by 1, so this kid is already, he finished, I think, 33rd or 30th at Bay Hill. He's the real deal. One of the best putters Everyone that plays with this guy says they're the best putter that he's ever played with. One of his coaches, they said on the broadcast, said that he's the best putter that he's ever seen. But it was a kind of struck me as a light schedule, and I was like, so it's time for some rest? He's like, dude, I need rest. This guy's been going nonstop. Just one amateur made the cut this week, and thus won the medal for that achievement. Justin Hastings, who hails from the Cayman Islands and plays for San Diego State. He earned his place in the field this week by winning the Latin America Amateur Championship and, made the most of it. So shout out to Justin Hastings. What a great week. This was sort of the Maintenance Crew Open. I cannot recall seeing so many guys in khakis wearing khakis and with mowers. It was absolutely everywhere this week. We posted a clip of with the YMCA music. It was almost like synchronized dancing. It started well before the tournament with media members hyping up these leaf blowers and these lawnmowers, and it continued throughout the week. And the superintendent of Oakmont was given a medal, some sort of designation in the post-tournament trophy ceremony, and deserves it. I mean, do we have a clip, Andy? Yeah. Let's roll a clip of these guys. I saw this on Wednesday, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, they've got a song leader. They've got a leader of the band. He's walking backwards like one of those tour guides on a college campus, getting ahead of everybody, herding these guys. What an effort. What an effort, though. I mean, for that course to take on as much water as it did, and still the greens were still so fast. That's what drew me. Yeah, of course, they're going to get a little bit softer with the moisture, but they were still rolling super, super fast. Did it feel maybe a little bit, performative? I don't know. And if it was, is that such a bad thing? Isn't this whole thing a performance? I'm getting very philosophical here, but isn't this whole thing a performance? This whole professional golf thing, professional sports? Showmanship is a feature of this, not a bug. So a shout out to the Maintenance Crew and a shout out to all the coverage that the Maintenance Crew got. Is this khaki, guys? This might be khaki. That's khaki. So I think it's Maintenance Crew is on my mind. I'm going to make a declaration here. I think Dustin Johnson's done winning majors. And I'll make another declaration here. I don't think that Brooks Koepka is done winning majors. So DJ was doing his pre-tournament press conference on Monday. He missed the cut. He shot 10 over, and he was asked how he managed to maneuver around Oakmont under par when he won his U.S. Open in 2016. Here's Dustin Johnson.
I drove it really straight. I hit a lot of fairways. That was the only reason I shot that well. I don't know. It seems like it's tougher this time around, but that's just maybe with a little bit of added length. It's going to make it a little more difficult. But yeah, somehow I figured out a way to get it under par. It was mostly the driving. I mean, obviously, even driving in the fairway here, it's still really difficult. But I hit a lot of good drives and a lot of good iron shots.
I'm probably reading too deep into this. It's not the first time that's happened. It won't be the last. But to me, that felt like someone talking in the past tense of their career, like a grandpa on his porch sipping a beer at 2 p.m. talking about the 3 touchdowns that he threw in the state championship game. He's missed the cut 6 of his last 8 majors, and I don't know if it's motivation or age. He's 40, and it's harder to compete in your 40s, but his play has dropped multiple levels the past few years, and I just don't get the sense that it'll turn around. He's just been really, really poor in the majors. And then on the other hand, we have Brooks Koepka, who opened with 68, but slipped down the board as the week wore on. I mean, I'm still terrified of this guy's name when I see it at the majors. I will never forget when I really first started covering golf was 2018. That was in the middle of the domination from Koepka, and I'm going to use a word that Alan Shipnuck uses a lot. It was just so macho, like the way that he would overpower tournaments. And he struggled a little bit in majors recently. This was a better week, but yeah, he won one only 2 years ago. But the ones between Oak Hill and this week at Oakmont, maybe he just like Oaks, were not so great. But I'm far more bullish on his turnaround prospects because if he's still 35, he's been healthy for most of the past few years. Feels like Brooks is always telling us, I'm finally healthy, but we haven't heard much injury problems. And the question with Koepka has always been motivation. And toward that end, I cannot think of possible better motivation than the guy who's, I think they're 364 days apart, him and Rory McIlroy. They're constantly compared to one another. We saw that in Full Swing on Netflix. And Rory caught him with 5 majors, and Rory leapfrogged him. What's the past tense of leapfrog? Is it leapfrog or leapfrogged? whatever it was, Rory did it in the all-time conversation with that career Grand Slam. And yeah, it just feels like Brooks is super motivated. We saw him talking about how his coach gave him a stern talking to, and he felt like he needed it. And, the last time that happened was at Erin Hills. Kind of felt like he was sort of foreshadowing that I have what it takes to win this golf tournament this week. Didn't end up happening, but I do believe that Brooks Koepka will win a major championship again. I'm pretty darn sure of that. Our next parting thought is also our dog of the week. Our dog of the week this week is Robert McIntyre. So shot 70 on Thursday. Said that it was one of the best rounds of golf he's ever played. Said that if he finished at even par, he would be leaving with the trophy, so he was one shot off. But played his heart out over the weekend. 69-68 on the weekend to get it in the house at 1/281. Spaun made birdie on 17, which meant that a par would win the Open. But McIntyre was watching in the scoring tent, and there must have been at least some hope for a 3-putt. But that's not what he got. And look at how Robert McIntyre responded to that putt. And that's what our sport is all about. He knew he'd been well beaten. In that moment, he's a golf fan. You see a little shrug there, like, what can I possibly do? Golf, you can't play defense, right? Sometimes you get beat by the better player. Duel in the Sun, Tom Watson, Jack Nicklaus. Henrik Stenson and Phil Mickelson, 2016 Open Championship. Sometimes you just get beat. And when that happens, instead of getting bitter, you just applaud. So a dog mentality from Robert McIntyre to stick in it. 69-68. He shot 3 under on the weekend of the United States Open. He was all class when he lost, finished solo second. He'll be on the Ryder Cup team. Almost got his third National Open. He won the Canadian Open. He won the Scottish Open last year. Would have been cool to complete the English-speaking, well, he would have to win the Australian Open, but getting close to the English-speaking slam. But our dog of the week this week, well-deserved, is Robert McIntyre. Ben, you're there. Yo. You're gonna QB this next segment. Tell us what we're looking at.
We're looking at the best and worst dressed gentleman of the week. But before we get into that, I got to compliment what you're wearing today. I love the jacket.
Thanks,
Mr. Rappaport.
Thanks. Yeah, I took a risk today. Took a risk.
A little bit of plaid in the inside there.
Oh, there's more than a little, my
Lines?
friend.
Look at that.
More than a little plaid, my friend.
You're not messing around.
I'm not messing around.
Let's get to the golfers.
Just like you in that mansion.
Thank you. All right. So first guy on the list is always the first guy on the list, or he's always on the list. Can you guess?
Jason Day.
Yeah.
There we go.
So he showed up. First time we saw him, we could see him from the media center through the window on the range in these American flag shorts. Sent Derek down there right away, said, go get some pictures of this guy.
We need some photos of that.
Yeah, we need that. Then plenty showed up on Getty, so we were
so you're all good.
Full of photos. Yeah. But yeah, not American, but showing his pride.
I think he's on our team. I don't think you can play in the President's Cup with a straight face with that after wearing that outfit. If I'm a fan at if I'm a fan at the next President's Cup, I'm just printing out a huge picture of that, and I'm standing behind the first tee with him in the Stars and Stripes and saying, "You're not against us."
We got to print out like some. What are they called? Fatheads or something like that.
Yeah, fatheads. Did you have fatheads growing up? Those used to ruin your wall. And they would tell you that they wouldn't ruin your wall. And then I put one of Derek Jeter up on the wall, and it tore down the entire thing.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to have one for that reason.
Yeah, well, my parents are nice.
All right, Raymond reminded me this is called digital lavender, what Jason is wearing.
What does that mean?
Look, I don't know. I think there's a tech print really close if you get tight on it.
Got it.
But yeah, I love this. The visor, as you love, was in play. He also, showed us how to wear joggers correctly in this silver fit, which you'll get to this, but he got asked about this.
You're anti-jogger.
I am, but I've pointed out in the past, if you go on our style section, that Jason does it right because he gets the right size, and he doesn't buy the kind that are cinched at his ankle.
So yeah, you don't see any ankle there
later. Exactly, and the high tops help with that too. But it's all part of putting together an outfit, and Jason does it well. Here, there's another well-executed jogger here, and a techier fit from Malvin than we typically see.
Is the Raymond was hypothesized? Are we beginning to see the end of the golf polo? I mean, I've been trying to wear button downs and different stuff. Is the golf polo on life support?
I think this tournament was the one that kind of is going to spark that because so many guys are wearing blade collars. Speaking of, I think our next guy, that's what we're praising him for, right? Is Adam Scott our next person? Sung Jae Im is next. Let's get to Sung Jae.
Sung Jae and Willie.
Yeah, so Willie had a Malvin hat on, so he gets honorable mention here. But Sung Jae wore two really great shirts that I liked this week. This color block kind of artsy one. I felt like it's like 4 different grays with a white square. Worked really well. And then the other one is a much busier shirt that he wore. There's Willie in the Malbin hat and the shorts.
And the shorts.
He's fully Malbin.
What a well-placed logo that is on the shorts. Yeah, you like this shirt with the black pants. I'm usually against these busy shirts, and we'll get into that. But this one really worked because he kept it simple with everything else, the black pants. And then that white logo on his shirt actually pops perfectly with the hat. So black pants.
Sanjay, well done.
With the whites
can't mess up with Willie on the bag there.
Yeah, you can't mess up with the whites. That's the black dress, but same thing. Next guy.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
Adam Scott, obviously. So he didn't wear a collar all week. He was wearing a blade collar polo from Uniqlo. What I really liked about his Uniqlo fits were these are a little wider than the typical blade collars that you see out there on tour. Usually what they do is just like chop off the collar and it's just like another polyester thin shirt. He had some like weather gear going. In that first photo, he was wearing the new Emilion Dor X FootJoy shoes, which is like a hype fashion grail right now in the golf world. But yeah, Adam brought it per usual. I just wish, I didn't realize he shot 79 yesterday.
79, dude. It was a slow bleed.
Easy. It's tough. Here he's walking across the turnpike just to get Turnpike out there.
Turnpike.
All right, next up, I really loved Victor Hovland's Jay Lindbergh shirt with this color was cool. It was like not like a royal blue. It popped really nicely. It looked like nice with the white pants.
I'm not going to be able to comment on the
digging through the weeds. Oh yeah. Well, that's a tough one for you, I'm guessing.
It's okay. Well, I take your word for it. That's why you're here.
It's really good. And I like how Jay Lindbergh makes this logo on the back. It's like a hack to how to get a giant logo that kind of breaks the rules. Because that is their logo mark, but it's a shirt feature here. So shout out to Jay Lindbergh.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because we saw Jason Day at one point had to like cover up the Malbin. So I guess they get around it because it's a tech situation.
It just looks like it's part of the shirt, but it is their logo.
Got it.
They do a nice job there. And then someone else that I don't know if he was talked a lot about this week, but Raymond put me on his radar. Yuta Segura.
See, that's just not. Is that a golf shirt? I mean, that's a golf shirt these days? If that's a golf shirt, then
that's what I'm talking about.
We've broken contain.
That's like a mock neck T-shirt. I think we have broken contain with this, but it's Tommy Hilfiger. That's why we're excited. We got Tommy back on the golf course here. Very cool. And then I have some honorable mentions. Our friend of the program, Sean Foley, showed up in a crispy RLX dress shirt this week.
That's an extra wide visor too. I'm liking that visor.
Sean is a peacock. I've come to learn in terms of sartorial choices, and I love this one. I saw his trousers too. You can see there are a bit flashy too. But nobody else looked like this on the range this week. Sean.
I like that shirt. I like that long sleeve button. It's almost like a better cut. Remember when Phil started wearing those mizzen and main button downs on the golf course? But they looked like something you'd wear under a suit. This doesn't look like something you'd wear under a suit necessarily.
He can pull off the tighter fit too, just because he is such a showman. And then Ted Scott wore a pair of Nikes that I really love. These are Gore-Tex. These are $170 Nike shoes. They're called the Nike React X Pegasus Trail 5 GTX.
That's it? They ran out of letters or what? I mean, that's the longest name I've ever heard.
How cool are those, though? Look at those. You feel like you could take on anything in them.
Yeah,
especially Oakmont in the rain.
Good weather shoes for sure.
All right, we can move quickly now through the people who did not do it right. John Rahm just every week disappoints me with what he's wearing. I don't think it's Grayson's fault. They make really nice clothing. He just is choosing the wrong ones. I think he's falling. Here's DJ and Rahm looking for the guy who did this with the bad fits. It's you guys.
Who put us in this?
I hate to pick on the live guys, but they tend to be the worst dressed week to week. I don't know. There's like a lack of sensibility going on here. Rahm wears like colorful pants a lot, which
they feel almost like they're wearing jerseys kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I think it's because they're so forced to like uniform it up. Like their personal expression is being taken away from them. The next guy, Ricky Kawamoto, we talked about him on the range. I couldn't remember exactly what you said.
I'll tell you, that looks like a shirt that you'd buy in the airport.
Yeah, like the Orlando airport.
And also, like that Callaway logo is just way too close. Like, I mean, I get it, man. Star Wars is cool. Star Wars is definitely cool. But was that Thursday at Oakmont when he was rocking that? Or, the United States Open? We're just wearing basically an I Love New York t-shirt?
Basically, I Love New York, yeah. Way too novelty for me. I'm not hating on anybody that loves Star Wars. Like, I think Star Wars is cool. Not the coolest, but it's not about that. It's
Power rank Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, and Harry Potter.
Harry Potter, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. Probably.
Have you seen Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
Have you read Lord of the Rings?
No.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's probably explains. Anyways.
You get one done, you don't have to do the other.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. Next up is a cardinal sin of joggers, which is buying these types of joggers.
Just the cardinal sin of this type of joggers is having these joggers. His
bag is sick, by the way. I want to give him shouts. But Callaway did a really cool bag for him this week. But yeah, you can't buy the ones that cinch at your ankles like this that have the gathered hem. It's just a really easy way to look out of touch and like 5 years behind the curve. Akshay is a skinny guy, so he can pull off these like baggy fits with a lot of stees. I want to see more baggy pants on him because I think they would look great.
I like it. We got anybody more? We got anybody more to shit on?
Yeah. We got Tyrrell Hatton here after he saw himself in the mirror. This is his live reaction to that. I really like the purple pants and the belt. I wish he had just gone all the way through. This polka dot number here, do I even have to like elaborate?
Well, it's just I think it's there's a certain like they dress like they're wearing jerseys a little bit. It's just a little bit there's not a lot of there's a sameness to it.
It's like the shirt you see on like the mannequin with no arms and no head on like a Temu type of website that's selling you like golf shirt.
Okay. Little TikTok shop action.
Yeah. Okay. Last but not least, I know he won, but I didn't love JJ's shirts all week. He's a Puma guy. They went really busy with it. This one, the fireworks, just felt like a little too hard. It's not July yet. It's the U.S. Open, but we're not celebrating the 4th for a little bit here. But shout out to Jay John.
He won the tournament.
Play.
He won the tournament.
Being a dog, yeah, you don't have to look good if you make a 64-footer on 18. So really proud of him. That was fun to watch.
That was fun to watch. Thank you, Ben. Excellent segment. I want you to stick around for this next one because this is probably our most sticky talking point here. We're gonna get back into some thoughts I had on the United States Open. So let's talk about Rory McIlroy. I've never seen someone more upset with making Albatross than Patrick Reed on Thursday, and I've never seen someone more upset after achieving golfing immortality than Rory McIlroy. Like when we all thought that Masters was going to be this cathartic event and he was going to have the weight of the world off his shoulders, and it's still early. It's only been a couple months, but it's gone the other way. And there's sort of two things at play here, right? And they're separate. There's the motivation issue, which I think we can all understand. And then there's this sort of ornery, cranky attitude that he seems to have right now. And those two things are different. You can be struggling with motivation and still be in good spirits. Look at Dustin Johnson for the last couple of years. Like, just because you're feeling a little bit of a come down does not mean that, you're going to act in a certain way. And Rory's just, it's not the Rory that I've, that we've all come to know, I think, in the last couple of years, really since he's been around. He's in a mood. And he opted not to speak with the media after Thursday and Friday's round, which, as he's wont to remind us, he's within his rights to do. And then he did do an interview on Saturday and seemed to say that he's annoyed with the media. Let's roll this first clip here.
So transparent with us and very available. Yesterday was 6 majors in a row, rounds that you kind of stepped away. Has that been part and parcel to the frustration on the golf course? What do you attribute?
No, not really. It's more a frustration with you guys. But yeah,
it's more a frustration with you guys. I mean, that was pointed. He was digging there. That was a little bit cutting. And what is the media really? I mean, after he won the Masters, it was a Rory love fest, deservedly so. I mean, the guy became one of 6 players ever to win the career Grand Slam. He's an all-time great, and he's clearly upset about the driver situation where it leaked that his driver failed the test, but Scotty's didn't. But is that really the media's fault? And, it got leaked by someone at the USGA. The media doesn't conduct the testing. And I don't understand what he's so upset about. Let's roll the next clip.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've been totally available for the last few years. And I'm not saying maybe not you guys, but maybe more just the whole thing, the whole
driver thing.
Yeah, part of I mean, that was a part of it. Yeah, that was a part of it. But it's not as if like at Augusta I skipped you guys on Thursday. So yeah, it's not as if it's not out of the ordinary. I've done it before. I'm just doing it a little more often.
And it's one thing to sort of skip media. You're allowed to do that. It's another to then basically say to the media that you're really upset with them. You're upset with the whole thing. I don't really know what the whole thing means. And if it is about this driver story, I mean, Scotty's driver failed. They asked him about it. He's like, yeah, I just got to adjust to a new one. And the whole thing goes away. So, no one with a brain was questioning Rory's intention with the driver thing. And were there people without a brain who were questioning whether he used an illegal driver or this? Yeah, but that's called the internet. And Rory knows that. Like, he's been around long enough to know that. So, something's just off here. Do we have any more clips? Is that it? Yeah, 3 more. We have 3 more. Okay, let's roll the next one.
You kind of carried the tour with your awards for 3 or 4 years now. Do you feel like you've earned a break?
I feel like I've earned the right to do whatever I want to do, yeah.
Like that, no one would take issue with that comment over a glass of Pinot in a private setting. I think everyone agrees that Rory has earned the right to do what he wants to do, but it's just kind of a crazy thing to say. What I'm getting at is he's really upset. And it makes me a little upset to see him so upset, because this should be the most incredible time. You've just completed the career Grand Slam. Everything is gravy for the rest of your career. Let's roll the next one.
You have, in relation to that, kind of almost addressed the fact that the tour does not require that kind of thing. It's almost like you're daring them to do so in some way. Is that, in terms of a requirement for other players?
No, I'm not daring them to do anything. I hope they don't change it, because it would, it's a nice luxury to have. But I'm just pointing out the fact that we have the ability to do it.
I think it's well established that you have the ability to do it, because you keep doing it. And listen, nothing is beyond repair here. Like, all he's got to do is just, kind of reset. But I think everyone's just a little bit, the smell test is kind of off. Like, is this really because of the driver? Because what else is there to be like so upset with about the media? Next clip.
What do you look for tomorrow?
Hopefully a round in under 4.5 hours and get out of here.
And this is, he shot 67 on Sunday, and that's part of the reason why Rory McIlroy is the figure that he is in the game. He has unbelievable natural ability. Does that sound like a guy who was ready to grind it out on Sunday and shoot everything and really, play this round like it's his last? I mean, if you ask Tiger in the height of his powers, he was, 10 over going into Sunday, and you would ask him, what are you looking for tomorrow? Well, I want to get off to a hot start, hopefully shoot something in the mid-60s and sort of see what happens. Rory's like, I just want to basically play quick and get out of here, and then he shoots 67. And, the good news is he did speak with media on Sunday, and he said, I climbed my Mount Everest, and now I've got to figure out my next one. And I think the Open Championship at Royal Portrush is a perfect mountain for him to climb, especially given the last time it was there, he missed it in really dramatic fashion. Remember, he hit it out of bounds a couple times, once, maybe even twice on the first hole, and then shot something really low on Friday and missed the cut and was in tears. And he's from 20, 30 minutes away from Portrush. So if there is something to get motivated for, it is that. Ben, what did you make of this? You're an emotional guy. Is Ben still? Yeah, that's a good, I mean that in like a nice way. We talk about things, and what's your read here?
I've always kind of related to Rory for that reason. I always felt we're the same age. He was vulnerable with people the way that I feel like I have been in the public. So like I was kind of related to him, and this kind of like made me mad at first because it feels like he's changed. But now that I've sat with it for 24 hours or so, I just think he's going to come back around. We know who he is. He showed us that throughout his whole career. Only recently has he really turned into this like he's going to take those biting. I didn't like the way he was phrasing things.
He was being mean. He was being mean. Like there was a meanness to it that felt, there's a way to express how you're feeling without making like biting remarks. And those were biting remarks.
Also, I don't know who asked him that first question.
Mark Cannizzaro from the New York Post.
Okay, I was gonna say it could have been like a Beaver County Times local guy, and like, what did he do?
Yeah.
New York Post maybe deserves a shot or two here and there.
Rory.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he'll come back around. I think he's shown us who he is, and I think he'll mea culpa in his own way. Like he might be really nice to people over the next couple of weeks, or maybe at Portrush we see a more jovial Rory, and he'll balance everything out on his own. He's a good guy. I think he knows.
Yeah, like, my reaction here is not like screwed Rory. It's like let's get this back on track. Let's get this back on track because this feels like something's off here.
I mean, he's the one that was smashing tee markers and tossing his clubs. Like, does he think that the media is not waiting for stuff like that to happen so we can cover it? Like,
well, I think everyone's sort of looping everything together and being like the driver and this and that, and like there's clearly clearly an undergirding of antsiness and anger or something that's showing up in different areas. You know,
Streisand affected himself with the driver story because like nobody really cared, like you said, and Scotty even came out and afterward and said it very rationally. Like everybody figured out very quickly that was a non-story, and he's the one that keeps bringing it up. I guess they asked him about it, but if he's really sour about that moment specifically, like he's hanging on to it, and he's the only one that is.
Yeah. So hopefully we get a different tune out of Rory McIlroy. He's playing this week, and this week is a no-cut limited field event at the Travelers Championship. I'm going to this. I'm excited to watch the best players in the world play. I just wish there were more of them. I'm over these no-cut limited field events. I've seen a ton of them in golf in recent years. I've given them a chance. It's been all the rage with LIV, and then the PGA Tour responds with the signature events, and they've got 80 players, and I don't know, man. The cut is just one of the coolest things in our sport. It's a crucial component to the meritocratic ethos that we have, and everyone starts at the same score every week. And unless you're really on your shit, you're going to be trunk slamming on Friday with everyone else who wasn't on their shit. It doesn't matter who you are, and making a cut matters. And Philip Barbaree Jr. had to come back Saturday morning to make a nervy putt to get through to the weekend at Oakmont. It mattered so much to him. It gets him straight into the second stage of Q School. It makes him money. It allows him to say that he made the cut at the United States Open. It was a powerful scene, so powerful that it brought his fellow LSU Tiger, they were buddies when they were there, Sam Burns, to tears. And it's really unfortunate that we've moved away from 140-player fields with a 36-hole cut in recent years. I get the logic behind the signature events going with these small fields. They want to make simply qualifying for the event a big deal, but qualifying for any event is a big deal. You're on the PGA Tour. You don't need to be in the top 50 of the PGA Tour for me to be impressed that you qualified for an event. I want us to bring back more tournaments with 140 players. And if you're going to say, oh, it's a pace of play issue, maybe 120 players when the daylight is shorter, and bring back the cut everywhere. I'm also sick of seeing Xander Schauffele's cut streak put up there next to Tiger Woods. It's not the same. There's all these no-cut events or the cuts that are like Memorial where there's 20, 15 guys who missed the cut. The no-cut, the limited field stuff, I'm just over it. Jason Day, we talked about earlier because of his outfit. This is also sort of because of his outfit. So he did an interview before his Saturday round. It cracked me up. He's a fashion icon on tour these days. But every time I tell him that, he gets a little bit sheepish. He's like, I'm just trying to wear stuff that I'm comfortable with, and I feel like is different. He's not trying to make any sort of like crazy statements, but I get the feeling he's a little bit weary of all the attention he's getting for his clothes, and you can tell that this interview specifically put him in a tough spot. Let's roll it.
I noticed that your bag is yellow and black. You were wearing a Man of Steel outfit today. Is this an homage to the Pittsburgh Steelers?
You know what? No, unfortunately not. I do like the Steel. I do like Pittsburgh sports in general, even though I do live in Columbus, Ohio, and my favorite football team is the Cleveland Browns, even though they have a rivalry. My second favorite team is Pittsburgh, and I know I'm going to get a lot of slack for that. But, I do have the Pittsburgh colors on today, so I'll just leave it at that.
We saw every emotion there. He goes, I know I'm going to get a lot of slack for that. And then he's just like, yeah, no, I'm going to stop the interview right here. He knew he stepped in it. He did his best to wiggle out of it. But then he just ran the clock out. It's a good strategy. It's like saying Trey Wingo posted. It's like saying your favorite team is the Yankees, but your second favorite is the Red Sox. He's here to look good, not make any political statements. And I think when he brought up that sort of Cleveland-Pittsburgh bit, he knew that he had sort of stepped in it a little bit. This guy didn't make the cut either. Another amateur in the field, Michael Sasso. But I think his kid's got some Paul Skeens vibes. So Skeens has been on the mind because Pittsburgh this week, and he even made an appearance at the golf course this week. A bunch of the Pirates players were out there. And Lasasso's been on the mind too. The rising Ole Miss senior won the NCAAs in a pair of short shorts that just barely stretched over his quads, which are sort of Saquon Barkley type quads. And they've got this similar sort of country boy aesthetic. SEC boys, the sort of half mullet haircut, the unbuttoned polo. Lasasso missed the cut this week, but we will hear more from him, and I'm predicting that he'll be a big star. They don't grow this sort of aesthetic on trees. There's a certain riz, as the kids would say. Number 14. I don't know why it was the first number I gave you guys, but guys, I want whatever the Torquay GC social media manager is smoking. I mean, this guy feels things. So here's a message posted on the LIV franchise's official account regarding Carlos Ortiz's run of play from Friday afternoon through Saturday. Roll the music. He came back from the dead alongside his loyal esquire, Michael Kerr, the trustworthy. Carlos is living proof that Latin American skin is thicker, that no matter how big the challenge, we shake the dust off our bodies and fight back with all our hearts. The first 5 holes at the Beast were an arrow to his heart. Everyone thought it was over, but he stood up, pulled that same arrow out and used it to fight back, to show Oakmont Country Club and the entire world that he is Carlos Ortiz, the toughest golfer Mexico has ever produced. And tomorrow, with a wounded body, he'll return to remind the world why it's called Moving Day. Venga, Carlos. I mean, maybe this is like, you go to live golf and you get like a team on your side, you get a bunch of hype men. Maybe that's, I don't know if that was ChatGPT. It might have been ChatGPT. It's very possible, but I don't think so. I don't think you can write with that kind of raw emotion. I don't think that ChatGPT understands the grit. And if you thought he emptied the tank with that prose, I have news for you. Here's on their captain, Joaquin Niemann. Roll the music. It's not often we see Waco Niemann miss a cut, but this is when he needs us most. We stand by our legends, no matter what. I love Torquay GC. That's my live golf team. I filmed a video with them, and this social media manager, it was a major championship for him too. And he did not disappoint. Look, with support like that, there are no bad weeks. This is not an ad for Torquay Golf Club, but maybe it should be, because I want that guy narrating my entire life. Wow, that was good. I liked that. That was funny. that was some good stuff. You like that one, Ben?
Yes. Oh, you hear me laughing?
Yeah, I heard you laughing. That's why I said it.
I unmuted. Sorry.
And you unmuted for the laugh. That's good. We got a little laugh track here. Wyndham Clark, not so funny here. So Wyndham Clark credited a newfound ability to regulate his emotions with a career turnaround. He worked really hard on his mental game. Full Swing was all over this. That turned him from just another tour pro into a major champion. We fast forward a couple years, and it sure seems like he's slipping a bit in that ongoing battle with his temper. So Wyndham slowly tumbled down the world rankings. He's very much outside the Ryder Cup picture. We need to do something pretty special to get on that team. And we saw some tangible signs of this frustration building at the PGA Championship, where he flinged a driver into an ad from his main sponsor, T-Mobile. That would be like me taking these knockarounds and snapping them in half and saying, these are terrible, even though I love them. I love these. I would never do that. I'm saying that's how bad it was. And some videos emerged on social showing him cussing himself out this week, but the real bomb dropped on Saturday when No Laying Up's Tron Carter posted a picture of damage that Clark allegedly, I want my lawyer wife is watching, allegedly caused to the Oakmont locker room. Can we pull up the picture of this? And these lockers have been there for 100 years. Golf.com posted this awesome piece about the locker room at Oakmont and how it's basically untouched. You got these benches that are original with all the spike marks from everyone who's played at Oakmont, Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus. And if you open those lockers, they have a little cubby in there that's from the Prohibition era, so guys could drink in peace. And these are like a living, breathing part of history. And to do that, if he did it, allegedly, is really, really bad. Like really, really bad. And this game tortures you, especially at U.S. Opens. For 1 week, Turtle Hatton was saying everyone knows what it feels like to be in my head at all times. But look, it's one thing to cuss yourself. It's another to toss your club. It's another to throw your club into your main sponsor's ad. It's another level entirely to take your frustration out on the Oakmont lockers. So again, I don't know for sure, but I'm waiting for either a denial or an apology, because that's the only way that this is going. Not a great couple weeks for Wyndham Clark with his frustration in the major championships. Another guy who's going to be frustrated with his play this week is Justin Thomas. I think it's fair to be concerned about JT at the majors. So JT entered this major season playing great. Top 5 player in the world, both on Data Golf and the world rankings, and he seemed to have turned a corner. He entered the Masters off a runner-up finish to Victor Hovland. But he never factored at Augusta, finished tied for 36, but he bounced back big time. Won the RBC Heritage the very next week, first signature event win, first win since the 2022 PGA Championship, and then he took second in his next start at the Truist Championship, another signature event. So he entered Quail Hollow, where he won one of his 2 majors, as a big-time favorite. It was like Rory, Scotty, Bryson, and then it was sort of JT was in that conversation. He missed the cut that week in Charlotte, and he missed it again this week at Oakmont. And this is a disturbing stat. JT has played 13 major championships since he won his second PGA at Southern Hills, and he's missed the cut in 7 of them. That is simply not good enough for a player of his caliber, and it's why he headed straight to the range on Saturday morning. He was pissed. He's competitive as hell, and he knows that a player like him is going to be judged ultimately by the majors, and he's putting up way too many stinkers in them. And he's still going to be on the Ryder Cup team, but now there's only one chance for JT to salvage his major season, and it comes at the Open, which is the only major he's never finished in the top 10 in. So at risk of being another lost year in the majors for Justin Thomas, we're going to go for our last parting thought here before we get into some fun segments that are going to finish the show. But this was a major step back in our never-ending crusade against broadcasters saying this just a moment ago. So I recently got YouTube TV, not to brag, which is so much better than Spectrum. It's crazy. But they had a function like a quad box situation, multicast, whatever. So you're watching the broadcast in the bottom right, and then you've got feature group, feature group, feature group. And it just opened my eyes to every shot is delayed. Like almost every shot is delayed. Unless it's from the final group where they're carrying every shot live, they've got cameras all over the course, especially early in the tournament. They've got cameras all over the course. They've got guys in the room watching all the different feeds. A great shot happens, they cut it, and then they show it. That's most shots. I don't understand why they say this a moment ago only for the good ones. I mean, this is a chirp here from Benjamin, from Bob Does Sports. Scotty Scheffler makes a hole-in-one on a par 11. NBC, this just a moment ago. Everything is just a moment ago. So it's not like you're telling the truth, because then you would have to tell the truth with every shot. It's like, it almost like they want you to pay attention, but it seems like a universal, and I'm very wary of judging things based off of social media, but it seems that no one likes this just a moment ago. You know exactly what's going to happen. And I've been on live broadcasts where the producer says in your ear, this is just a moment ago. And I've said, I'm not saying it. I'm just not going to say it. And we're still here. The world went on. So can we just please stop saying this a moment ago? That's from golf fans everywhere to these broadcast networks. Lie to us. It's okay. This is an entertainment product. It's a performance. Nothing is really live. It's okay. Just don't say this just a moment ago. You ruin hole-in-ones. You ruin long putts. Try to preserve a little showmanship here. Try and preserve a little bit of mystery. All right. That was a lot of yapping. We're going to move into blind ranking from Ben, who's going to run this remotely. Ben, I'm going to get my old trusty whiteboard here while you run us through our category today.
Yes, and before we even get into today's category, we get to check your work from last week, because last week's blind ranking was U.S. Open qualifiers.
Predictive. It was predictive.
In the order they'll finish, and you did quite well, my friend.
I did do pretty well. Got the first two.
First two right off the bat. Yeah, there's a couple mixed up there in between, but like, who knew that, Jackson was going to miss the cut, and, our king, Lonto
Victor
Griffin.
Perez was my only real miss, but I got the top two, and I feel good about that.
Victor Perez, who made an ace. I don't know if that was just a moment ago.
Yeah, it probably was.
Because we were there.
It probably was.
This week, we are blind ranking finishing holes, and we are chock full of great golf courses here. So I think this is going to be a difficult one for you to actually put in order.
Best finishing hole. There's
18th hole.
There's no not certain courses aren't going to be excluded from this. This is an inclusive blind ranking.
It's an inclusive blind ranking. What is the last great hole on this course, or what is the best last
hole? Okay, ready.
That part. All right, let's start off with an 18th hole that I'll humble brag and say I made a par on this hole as a not good golfer. So this is a big feat at Riviera Country Club.
Riviera's great. Great 18th hole. Amazing natural amphitheater, and this is one of my favorite golf courses in the world. Not just because it's down the road from here, but it's in my. I've been lucky to play a lot of them. Riviera's in my top 5. I just think you go down the hill on one. You're in this beautiful sunken area for the entire round, and then you go back up on 18. It's a really tricky tee shot. You got to hit it further left than you think. You got those houses on the left that are distracting you in their sheer magnificence, and you've got this incredible natural amphitheater behind. I'm putting Riviera at a strong number 4.
I like that. I love that. That tee shot is very scary for that exact reason. You don't know where you're supposed to aim.
It's blind.
You can go way further left than you think you can. The right side is really nasty over there.
The right
and then
side,
there's that
you
giant
get those
wall.
trees. Yeah. So it's and then you almost like, if you're in the right trees, you want to bounce it off the left, but it's such thatchy, sticky kikuya that it stays up there, and it leads to some really fun chips. I like that hole a lot.
All right, we're moving across the pond for the second one at the old course, St. Andrews.
Yeah, I mean, it's iconic, back to the clubhouse. It's sort of drivable these days. I think this hole has been lessened by modern technology. We sort of dirted the Swilking Bridge when we did the blind ranking of landmarks. So I'm going to put it number 5, not because the hole itself is that interesting, because again, it's just kind of a driver up there, and the Valley of Sin is cool though, but I don't think it was designed to be as drivable as it is. So I'm going number 5 with the Old Course.
Okay. Moving on to another icon. I would venture to guess that more unique viewers have watched golfers play this hole than any other 18th hole in golf, and that is the 18th at Augusta National.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, so many moments, so many seminal moments in golf history have taken place on this hole. I'm usually not a huge fan of holes that go like way up hills like this, but it's similar to the Old Course. You know, you think about Jack, you think about Tiger, you think about Arnold Palmer, and now you think about Scotty Scheffler, you think about Rory McIlroy, and its reputation precedes, and I'm going number 3. I'm going number 3 with Augusta, number 18. Because again, I don't think it's the best hole on the golf course, but it is Augusta National's 18th hole, so that counts for something.
And it's not an easy par too, which I love.
Definitely
You
not
really
an
have
easy
to.
par. Definitely not an easy par. But you can make a
grind if you're
birdie
gonna
on
win.
18 on Sunday with that pin that's kind of in the, that's sort of in that little sunken area there, a little bit of a funnel. So great hole.
Next up, I love this view of a finishing hole at Shinnecock.
Yeah, I remember Tommy Fleetwood hitting one of the most amazing second shots into that hole. It's another one that goes up the hill. So it's long, it's difficult. You go back toward that beautiful clubhouse. I'm going number 7. It's a good hole. I like it. Doesn't necessarily make my if I'm thinking about if I could only play one 18th hole for the rest of life, I don't know that Shinnecock is popping in there. That's not a commentary on the rest of the course, but I'm going number 7 with Shinnecock.
There's something about that look right there where it kind of feels like you're alone. You know what I mean? It's just like the vast expanse of, what's going on.
I'm excited for Shinnecock next year. I'm excited. Hamptons, baby. Are you kidding me? Hamptons in the summer for work?
We should probably book our house now.
Yeah, you should do that now. And I'm going to tell you it's going to be $50,000 for the week.
That's right. All right. A lot of iconic moments on this 18th green at Bay Hill.
Yeah, Tiger.
Look at all this water.
This is Tiger's hole. This is Tiger's made so many putts here to win. Tough hole, very, very narrow fairway, uphill tee shot that's blind, cool second shot. This is going to be number 6 for me because of those moments again. Good golf hole. Nothing like crazy that jumps off the page, sort of architecturally, but you're choosing ones that have had largely incredible moments on them. So we've got number 7, Shinnecock, number 6, Bay Hill, number 5, the Old Course, number 4, Riviera, number 3, Augusta National. I've gone right down the middle. So now it's going to get spicy.
Show the board? Yeah. Throw the board up in front of the mic. Let's see.
Now, I just read it out. We got it. Now it's going to get spicy, though. Now it's going to get
all right, spicy. Yeah. You got the bookends. Okay. Yeah. Our next 18th hole is one that I have never parred, and that usually I'm extremely fatigued and out of breath by the time I get there. It's the 18th at Bethpage Black.
Yeah, I'm not. This hole doesn't necessarily do it for me. It's straight up. There's bunkers on the right side, bunkers on the left side. It's another uphill second shot. There's so many amazing holes at Bethpage. I'm thinking about the ones that come just before it, 17, 16, 15, when you cross that road. But 18 just feels like it's sort of serving a purpose, getting back to the clubhouse, dead straight. I'm putting that number 9.
The thing about 18 at Bethpage Black that I love and hate is that by the time you get there, it looks so straightforward that you're like, okay, I got this. But you are so tired from walking that course that
it is a beast. It is a beast.
It's a thin fairway.
And if you're playing it not in a tournament, it's been like a 5.5 hour, or it's been just a slog out there. Like it's
you've been looking for your own ball in the rough for 5 hours.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. No spotters out there.
All right, another iconic tour, 18th green, a lot of moments here at Muirfield Village, Jack's place.
What is it? I guess they have to go back up to the clubhouse, but I feel like all of these holes have uphill second shots. This is a cool tee shot with that tree on the right. Oh wow, almost like having one tree on a hole is not the worst thing in the world. I'm putting this number 8 just because it's a difficult hole. It does have some moments. I think about Bryson going absolutely crazy when he made the putt to win right before he bulked up. But it's sort of similar to Bethpage in my head, where the hole itself is tricky and difficult and goes back toward the clubhouse, and it's got a nice sort of amphitheater behind it. But I don't think of this as one of the icons.
I skipped one, but Jared and Andy are kings, so they reminded me. Pebble Beach, 18.
Yeah,
so let's get this in.
Yeah. Number one for me. I'm a California guy. The greatest meeting of land and sea is that property at Pebble Beach. You get a taste of the ocean the first 9 holes, and you kind of go inland. 17, you start to see it again. You get to that 18th tee box, and it's one of the only tee boxes where I every year see tour pros take pictures for themselves, right? These guys, there's Getty photos all around. These guys are getting photographed constantly. They all, with their pro-am groups or with their caddy, they take a picture there in front of that ocean. Also, just an amazing hole with that tree. Wow, another hole with one tree right in the middle of the fairway that actually, you know, makes save. Imagine if they lost that tree. How bad would that be? Just as good as finishing holes get. A par 5, you can make an eagle, you can hit it in the ocean. It's got that incredible story of Tiger Woods almost, you know, being down to his last ball and having to get DQ'd from the U.S. Open that he won by 15. It's Pebble Beach. It's one of the cathedrals of sport, of our sport, and 18 is a perfect encapsulation of what that makes. God, I can't speak. It's a perfect encapsulation of what makes that place so great. I feel good about having that number 1. So we've only got 2 spots open. We've got number 10 and number 2.
Okay. So where are you going to put TPC Sawgrass?
I mean, it looks it's like a par 4 version of Pebble Beach.
You can't help but think about JT's 5-wood here.
JT's 5-wood, Tiger spinner. My head goes to Hal Sutton. Be the right club today. You know, I think about Jim Furyk when he lost to Rory McIlroy in 2019. Pimp stepped it from just almost 1 foot in the water when he was coming back from being Ryder Cup captain. Finished second out of absolutely nowhere. Oh man, it's just a function of what's going to be number 2. I just don't know what's coming next. I'm putting Sawgrass number 10. I'm putting Sawgrass number 10. Not because I don't like it. That's not where I would put it, but I'm playing a game here.
Sometimes playing a game works. I feel bad
about that already. God, please give me like an amazing golf course with an amazing 18th hole. Nope.
Kapalua is your last pick here.
Okay, I'll put it number 2, and I'm going to try to justify this by saying if you wanted to play one hole for the rest of your life, this one's probably in the top 10 because you're gonna set personal records on hitting 380-yard drives.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to get skewered for this. Nothing new under the sun, putting it above Augusta. But this is a blind ranking, and it is a really, really fun hole. And it is a iconic tee shot that I think everyone. It's also accessible. I want to go out on record here that my first 2 are public courses, and everyone is looking forward to that tee shot for the entirety of the round. So. I should have switched those 2.
It's one for the sickos.
It's one for the sickos. I should have switched those 2. Here's our list of best finishers. Number 10, TPC Sawgrass. Number 9, Bethpage Black. Number 8, Muirfield Village. Number 7, Shinnecock. Number 6, Bay Hill. Number 5, the Old Course. Number 4, Riviera. Number 3, Augusta National. Number 2, Kapalua. Number 1, Pebble Beach. These are all fantastic holes. These are that was a tricky one, but I very much like the category. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much. We'll be back next week with another.
Yeah. Well, are you going to come back to the studio next week, or are you renting a mansion in Cleveland?
No, I'll be there. I would never go to Cleveland.
Okay. Yeah, you're no J Day here.
That's right.
Okay, we're gonna bring on our boy because golf never sleeps. We've got the Travelers Championship, another signature event. Best players in the world on the PGA Tour are going to be there. I'm heading there right after this show. We're going to bring Rick on. Rick, I actually think this was a decent major week. Do we have a breakdown? Let's show a breakdown of how we did.
Yeah, it was live for a while. So we lost, I think like 2.5 units is what it ended up being. The winning score going over was very helpful.
Needed that.
Would have loved to make the week with Jordan Spieth charging late on Sunday to be the top former winner. That would have been nice, but we'll roll on.
But I think this was a good week because I know just from my unofficial sample of my friends, a lot of them were saying they lost every dollar that they had this week because it was, yeah, from your perspective, actually, before we get into the picks, from your perspective, it was almost like, I don't want to say a random leaderboard, but really, really difficult to predict. What did you make of last week?
Yeah, no, it was, you had a lot of the big boys that were like inside the top 15, but not enough near the top of the board. You had some of the guys that were very popular selections before the tournament started, did not even make the cut. I'm thinking about Bryson DeChambeau there, obviously. So yeah, that wipes a lot of opportunities off the board, and sportsbooks just start, collecting on Friday afternoon. But it definitely presented a situation where you've got guys in the mix that were very far down the odds board, were not bet on very often. It was probably a banner week for sportsbooks all around.
Yeah, this was a good week for the sportsbooks. Okay, so we saw a brutal setup last week at Oakmont. I think you were saying, I was watching your content all week, that it's the hardest course you've looked at from your sort of analysis standpoint. Yeah. What are we in for at TPC River Highlands this week?
Yeah, much more friendly and statistically a big contrast, right? You know, this is going to be a golf course that rewards precision over power. There's only 2 holes, 2 of the par 4s and par 5s, where it is statistically better to hit a long drive as opposed to an accurate drive out of the fairway. So you're going to see a lot of these guys position themselves on a golf course that's only 6,800 yards, hit something short into these greens, and hope to make a lot of putts. It'll be much friendlier than what they had to deal with last week at Oakmont.
All right, with that in mind, who is our pick?
Yeah, so we're going to go with Sepp Straka here. And
doesn't he have the hat trick of missed cuts in majors?
Yes, which I do not care about.
Okay.
He has won a signature event this year. I don't always think it's a big deal about like a major championship hangover, Dan, but if there's ever going to be a major championship hangover, the guys that just got beat to crap by Oakmont over the last 4 days, including weather delays and wet and slog and all that nasty stuff, Sepp missed the cut. He didn't have to deal with any of that. And this is a golf course where he can just hit a fairway, hit a green, give himself a bunch of looks. He's having an unbelievable 2025. He's 35-1 is the number that he was this morning, which I thought was just much too long.
All right, a top 20 pick. You're going for a sort of local boy?
Yeah, sort of. He'll claim it. It's Keegan Bradley, who's like, listen, he's been playing great, so I don't need to reiterate that. But it's the T8, the PGA, the T7 at the Memorial. He makes the cut at the U.S. Open and didn't even hit it that well on his second shot, which is usually his strength. I am positive that Keegan Bradley will summon the energy this week to grind through every single hole. And that's what I want, right? I want somebody who is going to care about every single shot that he hits, go out and finish inside the top 20. It's plus 110. He's playing great golf. This event means a ton to him. He has a lot of experience. And one of the things that you'll probably see a lot of this week, Dan, is this is a very sticky course history. So guys that play well, have played well here in the past, usually continue to play well.
Okay, and your last one is a fun one. It's a little bit of a geographical prop.
It is. I don't think we've done this one before. Top Oceania, which really just means it really just means Australia and New Zealand is what we've got going on here. So the
VJ's not in the field.
He is not. So it's Cam Davis, Ryan Fox, Minwoo Lee, Adam Scott, and then the guy that we are going with at plus 330, Jason Day.
Jason Day, right off of an outfit week.
Correct. So I've got concerns about some of these other guys. Cam Davis made the cut last week, but has not been playing well. Adam Scott had to be in the heat of the battle for the entirety of that event. Yeah. Minwoo kind of sprays it all over the place. Ryan Fox is playing great golf, right? But we're gonna roll with Jason Day at plus 330 in a group that I think he is stronger than the majority of. He's been playing great. Missed the cut at the PGA Championship. Other than that, the putting numbers are back to what I would consider his 100-round baseline. His tee to green numbers are strong. He got out of Oakmont before the nasty stuff really came down on Sunday, so I'm not super worried about that.
Plus, he's got his RV, bro. They just drove the RV from Oakmont to Travelers. Probably easy, bro. He was there last night. No problem.
Piece of cake. So I like the way that he's trending, and I think the other guys in this group, Sans, Ryan Fox, I think have some issues to deal with. But at plus 330 in a group of 5, J Day for me is the play.
Fantastic. Are you on the broadcast this week? Are you going to be at the golf course?
I'm going to be in Ponte Vedra doing PGA Tour Live.
Sick.
Yeah, so I'm headed.
So this is how many of you? This is number 5 or what number is this?
I think it's number 4. There is one more this year. There's another stream from Memphis that I have not heard. I have not been asked about yet. I hope to be on, but yeah, that'll be the last one for the year, and then hopefully they double the number of them in 2026.
Is Ponte Vedra just hot as balls right now? I've never been there apart from the players.
It's so hot and humid, and everything is just dripping wet all the time, and you cannot defog your windows in the car, and it is a swampy hell down there.
But I'm sure it's still tee sheet booked solid at Sawgrass.
Oh yeah, I mean I'll walk out there and it's just they're deep, and they have no problem filling those tee times, no matter how humid it is.
All right, well, everyone catch our man Rick on the ESPN bet stream this week. We love it. Good stuff, man.
All right, Dan, take care, brother.
Okay, we're going to finish as we always do with Chirps from the gallery. Again, major week for the Chirps as well. Let's start with Wyndham. We got a Wyndham one. What Wyndham Clark is, if I did what Wyndham Clark did yesterday, I would get arrested He shouldn't get out of this one. Some chat GPT apology, should be suspended, fined, and have to actually use T-Mobile on his phone. My brother has T-Mobile, swears by it. Our next one, McDowell says he has seen worse. Graham McDowell, this is minimal regards to what I've seen other players do, players you would never expect, talking about Wyndham Clark in the locker room. Oakmont will test any player's mental fortitude. Seen it in person. Guess who 2016? Are you going to tell us who it is? It's going to be just a little bit of a cliffhanger here. I mean, it's a reminder that, like, anyone who played golf professionally or any professional sport or really any sort of public life before Twitter and before the internet, you had it good. Next one. Rocco's got this. Rocco's got this in the bag. It shows the leaderboard of Rocco Mediate 4 under to Lee Westwood 2. Tigers 5 back on Saturday. This is where they came with the broadcast when there was that rain delay on Sunday at Oakmont. They went straight to the back nine on Saturday of the U.S. Open 2008, and Tiger made his electric run. I think he eagled the first hole they showed, eagled 18. But to have that in your locker is nice during it was also a reminder of just how electric watching Tiger Woods play golf was. We're back to Wyndham Clark with our next one. That's Wyndham just plotting his next move. Phil with U.S. Opens. This one's a little bit on the serious side. Kevin Van Valkenburg does amazing work at No Laying Up. Honestly, no snark if this is the end of Phil and the U.S. Opens. I just want to say I enjoyed the hell out of all of it. The American Sisyphus. Sisyphus is a Greek myth where he's pushing that rock up the hill, and as soon as he gets up to the top, it rolls all the way back down. That's been the story of Phil Mickelson in the United States Open. Second place, I don't know if it's 5 or 6. I wish I probably should have researched that before the show, but been so close so many times. Wingfoot comes to mind. Marion comes to mind. He's probably now going to be relying on a special invitation. I would imagine he'll get one. I think maybe he'll say it's his last, and they'll give him one to give him a proper going out. Will it be at Shinnecock where he putted the moving ball in 2018? I'm not sure, but I hope this isn't the last of Phil. He deserves a send off. 6 times, Andy says that he was second in the United States Open. Back to the alternate broadcast. There were probably a couple people who were a little bit confused of what was going on. Let's go to our next one. Dad's waking up from Sunday naps to Tiger Woods winning the U.S. Open, and that man just looks as surprised as that. Tiger Woods is winning the tournament? There probably wasn't 10 people who had this reaction in the world, but there was probably 5. Next one. This was in our watch along. Someone said that J.J. Spaun looks like Jordan Peele, the director. Fantastic call. Fantastic. We were doing a lot of doppelgangers in the watch along. Someone said I look like Shane Gillis. Interesting call. Someone said that Tyrrell Hatton looked like Wario. Extremely interesting call. Next one is from a guy I look up to a lot, Colin Coward. This is interesting because I think this is sort of, it's nice with these majors to sort of check in on the general sporting public. Like after Rory won, you saw everyone say that was one of the best golf tournaments I've ever seen. So it's nice to get this perspective from people who aren't self-proclaimed golf sickos. He said, weird U.S. Open, insanely difficult course, totally lacked juice, but that was quite an ending. So it'll be interesting to see what the number is, the ratings are, if a lot of people were turned off by the lack of star power on the leaderboard. But for those of us who did stick around, it was a very incredible ending. Andrew Carr, I like this one. So Justin Thomas tweeted, there's so much talk about what would X handicap shoot at Oakmont. Why don't we find a way to make it happen? Have a 5, 10, 18, whatever handicap play Monday after the U.S. Open, back tees, full rules of golf. There are no new ideas under the sun. And this is something that I've had to tell myself constantly throughout my career. Do not worry about doing something that's already been done because a lot happened before you were born, as my dad once told me. Andrew Carr says, this is why I obsessed over history. Golf Digest literally ran this experiment for at least 2 years in 2009 and 2010, but because it happened before JT was paying attention, it's as if it never happened. History is important because there are no new ideas. And our last chirp of the week is a nod to, we talked a lot about Oklahoma State being the golf school winning their 12th national championship a couple weeks ago. How about San Diego State? Down the road here, the winner of the United States Open is J.J. Spaun, who played his collegiate golf at San Diego State. The low amateur in the U.S. Open was Justin Hastings, who plays his collegiate golf at San Diego State. The defending champ of the Open, which is the next major, Xander Schauffele, San Diego State. So Golf School West, U.S. Open School, Open University. We're going to call it Open University. We're going to leave you guys, as always, with our clip of the week. And this is a personal one. My man Rory sent me this. Was lucky enough to meet him and his son on the putting green at Oakmont. Just an adorable kid, Georgia Bulldog fan. We talked about our Georgia, the college series that we did. And then Rory got in touch to send this video of his boy making a putt that I would say is perhaps more impressive than the one JJ Spaun made. We're going to leave you with this clip of the week. Amazing show, guys. Like and subscribe. We're building a really fun community here. I'm off to the Travelers Championship, but enjoy our clip of the week.
I like it. Come on. Come on. Look at this. Hurt.